Advaita Vedanta rests on a single axiom: ultimate reality, known as Brahman, is infinite, indivisible, and entirely non-dual. Yet human life typically does not mirror this undivided reality. Our daily experience is fractured into a world of distinct subjects and isolated objects. To account for this discrepancy, Advaita Vedanta introduces a specific operating mechanism called Maya. Maya functions as an engine of multiplicity. It takes a singular truth and refracts it, generating the persistent illusion of a universe filled with separate parts that obscure the non-dual reality. Because this illusion is the root cause of human suffering, decoding the exact mechanics of Maya is the strict, rigorous prerequisite to solving the problem of ignorance. This brings us to a distinct tension. Advaita clearly states that ultimate reality explicitly transcends human logic and language. Despite this claim, the tradition relies on massive volumes of scripture and intricately constructed logical frameworks to describe that exact reality. Advaita utilizes the contradictions surrounding Maya as precise pedagogical tools, engineered to point toward a reality beyond conceptual frameworks. These tools act as provisional pointers. They are engineered specifically to exhaust conceptual thought rather than satisfy it. To understand exactly how Advaita achieves this, we need to dissect 4 specific paradoxes of Maya. By breaking these down, we can see how the system uses logic to intentionally dismantle logic. We begin with the first paradox, the reality of the unreal. Advaita categorizes Maya with the term mithya. This denotes a reality that is empirically real in our daily experience, but false from an absolute perspective. This immediately raises an objection. If the world is ultimately false, why does our daily experience of physical pain and pleasure remain so vivid? Advaita explains this through the mechanics of a dream. Inside a dream state, the geometry, physics, and timelines are coherent. To the dreamer, the environment is completely real. But the moment that subject wakes up, the dream's empirical reality vanishes instantly. There is a structural limit to this analogy. A sleeping dream still relies on the existence of waking time and space outside of it to occur. Maya is the ultimate dream because it generates all states of time and space simultaneously. There is no outside perspective for the dualistic mind to wake up into, making the illusion inescapable through ordinary spatial movement. This leads to the second paradox, the cause of causality. Advaita posits that Maya is the exclusive generator of cause, effect, time, and spatial dimensions. Because of this, Maya is assigned the philosophical status of anadi, meaning beginningless. We can visualize the parameters of human epistemology as a closed system. Critics of Advaita naturally pose the question, if every observed phenomenon have a cause, what caused Maya? This specific question represents a critical category error. Attempting to find a cause for Maya applies a rule of the internal system, causality, to the very boundary that generates the system itself. Maya logically exists before the concept of a beginning. Concepts like beginnings and time are entirely downstream consequences of Maya, meaning they hold no jurisdiction over it. The third paradox addresses the mechanics of concealment, veiling the infinite. The logical contradiction is apparent. How can a finite mechanism like Maya possibly conceal an infinite, limitless consciousness? Advaita models this relationship using the analogy of a cloud obscuring the sun. The mechanics of this illusion are localized and perspective-dependent. The dark circle does not alter, diminish, or physically cover the underlying expanse in any actual capacity. Maya only appears to obscure reality from the strictly limited viewpoint of the individual observer looking up. This reveals a core dependency. The dark cloud of Maya only has the power to project a veil because it is illuminated by the very consciousness it claims to hide. The final paradox tackles human suffering directly, the illusion of bondage. If the true self, Brahman, is always perfectly free, we have to ask who or what is actually suffering in bondage. The answer lies in the mechanism of false identification. Consciousness incorrectly maps itself onto the hard limitations of the physical body and the fluctuating mind. To prove how profound physiological reactions require no actual basis in reality, Advaita uses the classic rope and snake analogy. Walking into a dark room, An observer projects the conceptual reality of a snake onto the physical coordinates of a simple piece of rope. The resulting fear and panic produce biological consequences as tangible to the observer as any physical threat. When the light of knowledge hits the object, the snake overlay vanishes instantly, revealing the rope was never altered by the terror. Human bondage operates exactly the same way. It is a real empirical experience generated by an ultimately non-existent threat. We can now align these four analogies: the dream, the causality boundary, the cloud, and the snake. Advaita does not treat these as isolated metaphors. They form a strictly interlocking conceptual framework. This framework is designed to deliberately corner the dualistic mind, blocking every logical escape route it attempts to use. This resolves the initial metalinguistic paradox. The tradition employs exhaustive logic because language is the necessary scaffolding required to reach the absolute edge of conceptual thought. Advaita Vedanta uses the mind's own tools of deduction against it. It proves the limitations of language by exhausting it completely. This leads to the ultimate claim of Advaita. All these descriptive frameworks and paradoxes are strictly provisional. The entire system of logic is built for a single purpose. Upon the moment of direct non-dual realization, the individual self recognizes it has always been Brahman. At this threshold, the logical framework recognizes no separate foundation to sustain itself. Advaita Vedanta functions as a logical architecture designed to erase its own foundation, revealing that Maya, bondage, and the teachings themselves never truly existed.